Hello, this is Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer.
Welcome home.
Soar into tower. We are ready for takeoff.
Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Hey, it's Amy from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey Clubbers, it's Scott from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey, it's Kathleen from DVC Clubhouse.
Welcome aboard, it's Phil from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Debrief Podcast, brought to you by DVC Clubhouse. This is Amy, and I'm joined this week by my co-host, Phil. Hi, Phil.
Welcome aboard, guys.
We're back for another week of the Debrief Podcast with just the two of us.
It is, and I don't want to get everyone's hopes up despite the amazing interaction in my Stir the Pot post this week. Instead of addressing that, we will wait for Scott and Kathleen for that one. We are instead going to try and finish our Disneyland versus Disney World comparison.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people might be a little bit disappointed because people had a lot to say. I mean, I think of the 180 comments, I think Scott might have been 50% of them, but
He really did. Like, he just teed off, and it just got to the point where I was like, everyone, just ignore him. Like, he does not have Kathleen as a stabilizing influence right now, and he's bored. Just ignore him.
yeah. I mean, he did kind of give us the heads up in our group text when he said that
He
you
knew it
opened the
was
door
coming.
and he walked right in. so we shouldn't have been surprised. But yeah, so we're going to put that on the back burner until we can get everyone, all four of us on the podcast together. And today we'll just continue our conversation that we started last week about the comparison between Disney World and Disneyland. Attract the things that are the same in both parks, which we prefer.
I thought it was going to be a shorter episode than that. And we started going off and we hit like 34 minutes. And I looked up, I don't even think we were a third of the way through Disneyland, never mind California Adventure and the shows.
I mean, we have a lot to say.
Shocking.
And you and I both feel very strongly about Disneyland. So
That is an understatement. Did I tell you what I did?
oh no, what did you do?
I
You told
put
me what you might
150
do.
yeah, I did it. I put
Mm.
150 of my points out to rent, which admittedly is only like half of my contract, and I still have 100 plus points that I'm banking, so I've still got plenty left. But I put 150 of my points out to rent to fund a trip to Disneyland in 27.
All right. Well, good luck. I hope you rent them and then where you're gonna book.
That still remains an open question. I'm actually, after staying there the last time, and we stayed at Grand California and we loved it, and I like being inside the bubble, but I think for people who haven't been to Disneyland, it's tough to explain. Inside the bubble does not mean the same thing in Disneyland as it does at Walt Disney World. So I'm seriously considering the Good Neighbor hotels that are arguably as close, if not closer, than some of the Disneyland locations.
Yeah, I've stayed at I think 3 different hotels that are all in walking distance from Disneyland that are not Disney hotels, and one was a little bit farther away, but still within walking distance. I mean, it's crazy. I stayed at 2 that are essentially right across the street
That's what
from
we're
that
looking. I mean, right
main.
now the Courtyard
Yeah.
by Marriott is the prime contender just because of the rooms that they've got seem to fit our needs, and it's a 5-minute walk, and you have to pass Panera on the way there, so the kids will love that.
I stayed at the one right next to it, which was the Fairfield, and
The
that's the one that's
Fairfield
right
was
behind
on
the.
my list. Yep.
Yeah, I think the Courtyard has a more fun pool. So I think that that's a better choice if you care about the pool.
Bingo.
I didn't. So the Fairfield was a little bit less expensive, and so I went with that since I didn't really care about the pool. I just cared about being right across the street. So
Yep, that's exactly why we did it. We looked at the two of them. We looked at the Tropicana, we looked at everything there, and I liked the rooms at the 2 Marriott locations, and we looked at the two pool complexes, and it wasn't even a contest with two little kids. The courtyard won hands down.
Yeah, for sure. And you're right there. So it'll be great. All right. So where did we leave off last week?
So we left off, we were just leaving Adventureland. So that brings us into Critter Country, which we don't have a Critter Country in Florida, but we do have some of the same rides. So Tiana's Bayou Adventure, formerly RIP Splash Mountain.
Okay. So I have not ridden Tiana's, the new Tiana's in Disneyland. I've ridden it in Disney World. What I will say is when it was Splash Mountain, this is where I definitely gave the nod to Walt Disney World, which doesn't seem to be happening a lot. But I just think that the track layout of the ride in Disney World is better, at least for the storytelling of Splash Mountain was better at Disney World. I need to I need to ride in Disneyland to really be able to make a fair comparison to see if those issues are the same, but I can't imagine that my opinion is going to change. I mean, I don't, as we've discussed before, they did not do justice to Princess and the Frog with that ride, and it's hard to even. I mean, we can't even compare the two, like the past ride to the new ride, because the old one, Splash Mountain, was just from a storytelling perspective so much better. So I don't know if the track will make a difference. I feel like it won't, but
No, and I was admittedly one of those Splash people. We've talked about it on the show. I was all for giving Tiana something. As a matter of fact, I was all for giving Tiana something bigger. I just didn't want to see Splash go. And now, after having ridden Tiana's Bayou Adventure a couple of times, I'm underwhelmed. What I will say is I do like Walt Disney World's track layout, just the overall ride, regardless of what the theming is. And I do like the side-by-side log flumes versus the one behind the other that they have at Disneyland. I just think it makes it more fun being beside somebody.
I agree. And I also think that in terms of the aesthetic of the ride from just how it fits into the landscape, I really like the way that all looked now. I mean, again, we're talking about the past of Walt Disney World and Frontierland. So I loved the way that looked. I mean, the sunset over Splash Mountain and even Tiana's Bayou Adventure, it's always my favorite time of day at Disney World. That golden hour looking over at Splash Mountain is just gorgeous, but that again remains to be seen because that entire landscape is going to look different. So I guess we'll
I
have
also
to
need to
revisit
point out,
this.
yeah, I also need to point out the dichotomy of we now have a Tiana's restaurant in New Orleans Square for a movie that takes place in New Orleans, but Tiana's Bayou Adventure is now over in Critter Country where Splash fit perfect, but Tiana does not. Again, thematic integrity for both locations for Tiana is just off, plain and simple.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right,
So that's a
on
hard
to
one to talk about. So let's move on.
yeah. All right, on to Winnie the Pooh. Exact same boring ride in both locations. Do we even need to address it?
We do not.
Happily moving on. Okay, so here, this one becomes an open question because we don't know what we're going to get here in about 6 or 7 weeks. Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. Now, prior to the upcoming reopening in Walt Disney World, I would give Disneyland's version top marks. The ride was better. The explosions, where it was situated inside the park in Frontierland near, what was it, Rancho Zucolo, everything just was better at Disneyland. But depending on what they do with these new lands and how the Big Thunder Mountain refurb comes out, Walt Disney World could be a contender.
I agree. I preferred Disneyland's version. There's something about Disneyland's version which is kind of similar to It's a Small World, where it just feels like more quaint. Like you're actually like you're going through this kind of mining village that you don't really necessarily get that feeling as much. I mean, you do, but you don't at Disney World. I just think that there's something about the scale of it at Disneyland that just makes it feel like a more intimate, immersive experience.
And it's much cooler from the walking path as well. I mean, you could see it in Walt Disney World, but really it was set back away from the river, and you could just kind of see them coming out of the caverns in the distance. Where at Disneyland, there's parts of that track that are 50 feet away from the walking path. So if you've got your kids there, you can watch them come by screaming. It's kind of right on top of everything, which is, I think, kind of cool considering the location.
And I just have to give a little honorable mention to the chimichanga cart that's right by the path to Big Thunder Mountain. Those breakfast chimichangas are delicious. They are like when I go to Disneyland, like I fantasize about those and cannot wait to have one. And there's nothing really that does it the same. Like I just don't. There's no food really in Magic Kingdom that I feel that way. I know a lot of people rave about the spring rolls. Those just don't do it for me. Um, but so the chimichangas, like to me, those if we're gonna compare a cart that has like a really popular food, the chimichangas are way better than the spring rolls.
I would give them equal marks in my book, but chimichangas gets the vote just because it's more fun to say than spring roll. Spring roll's boring. It's a lot of fun to say chimichanga, so I'll give them my vote.
Yeah, well, and they have the seating area next to the chimichanga cart. You can get coffee. It's like a fun place to be able to sit and eat your breakfast. Whereas the spring roll cart is like situated in a high traffic area when it's like in the blazing heat of the day. You're standing in line with like no shade. So
Once again, Disneyland quick service food for the win.
absolutely, and for the seating areas.
Truth. All right, it's breaking my heart to say this. Mark Twain Riverboat and Tom Sawyer's Island. I mean, obviously, we have to give the nod to Disneyland, right? Since Walt Disney World no longer has a paddle wheeler or a river or an island. So Disneyland wins this one conclusively.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'll
My
eventually get over it,
condolences.
maybe sometime. All right, so next up is Toontown. And I made a statement prior to starting the show. And you know what? I'm just going to throw it right out there for the general populace here. Someone could take a dump right in the middle of Toontown, and it really, to me, would not make Toontown any worse than it already is. I hate that section of Disneyland. I hate it.
It's a tough section because there's no outlet. There's only one way in and out, and it's always feels crowded. I mentioned in one of our episodes, I maybe when we were talking about Disneyland, that the last time I went, for some reason, it was like not that crowded. And I enjoyed being back there then because you could see some of like you could kind of like enjoy some of like the cute details that are otherwise completely hidden by just the sea of people that are typically between you and any place you want to get to.
Anybody that has ever been to Toontown and Disneyland will immediately understand why all of the YouTube videos of families engaging in fights happens right there. It's just it's the feeling it gives you. Like you walk in there and you become unreasonably and viscerally angry. It's just a byproduct of Toontown.
But when it is empty, it's really cute. I mean, you can even see it on social media. You know, when their influencers are there and they go like first thing to get like their cute content. It looks really cute. And I actually think that Roger Rabbit is like a fun ride. It's cute.
I have actually never been on Roger Rabbit's Toontown spin. Emily and Mackenzie have gone a bunch, and Luke has not been interested, so we've gone elsewhere. So I've heard that quite a bit, but I have not been on it to give my personal opinion.
It actually exceeded my expectations. So, I mean, it's not one that I would like go out of my way for, but for that type of ride, if you're looking to pass the time, it's cute.
All right, Minnie and Mickey's, or Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. I believe it's the same ride on both coasts, right? It's just the queue that's different, if I'm not mistaken. And the queue actually is a lot of fun at Disneyland. Huge shout out for a whole bunch of Goofy movie props inside.
Yeah, and it's cute from the outside too. I mean, I think that I mean maybe this is just the bitter part of me that feels like it is not a good enough ride to have filled the shoes of the Great Movie Ride.
This is
But
your
it,
Rivers of America. We
yeah.
both have that the hills we're looking to die on.
Yeah, I'm like, that's just like it's cute for what it is. And I think in Disneyland it makes a ton of sense there. It is like a nice, I guess, enhancement over there. Again, another ride that makes it extremely crowded over there where you just have a ton of people. But Hollywood Studios, like that just was not for me a good enough ride or a relevant enough ride to the theming or whatever theming there
I was going to
is
say, what theming?
left.
This is Hollywood
Yeah.
Studios we're talking about.
Yeah. But for the theming that used to be, it was so perfect. Great movie ride. So anyway, this is turning into a in memoriam of
Isn't
the
it though?
rides that the
All right,
things that
so
we loved.
we'll move past it. All right, Chippendale's Gadget Coaster. We don't have a direct comparison, but I mean, it's essentially Goofy's Barnstormer. It's the same little kid roller coaster that lasts about 18 seconds, and you don't really fit in the seats unless you're 6 years old.
Right. I mean, I think I'd say they're probably equal. They serve the same purpose. I have no strong feelings.
All right, now strong feelings, because you and I have done this together. We have the
Okay.
photos to
Ugh.
prove it. The Astro Orbiter.
So this may shock you again, but I have not ridden the Astro Orbiter in Disneyland. I've only ridden Astro Orbiter in Walt Disney World one time, Phil, and it was with you.
It's essentially the same kind of spinner. Theme parks all over the place have them. I will say that the theming, the actual like planetarium they've got around the Disneyland version is way, way cooler than Disney World's. You don't have to take an elevator up, so there's not that choke point. And it's right at the entrance as you're walking into Tomorrowland. So visually, it's far cooler in its placement and how it just lends a whole kinetic energy to that land. Even though they're the exact same ride, Disneyland's heads and tails beyond Disney World's for so many reasons.
I can judge it just from, as you said, its placement and the way, kind of the aesthetic of it, where it's placed, and it does look very cool at Disneyland. I feel like at Disney World, you don't even really the best vantage point of Orbiter is like from the California Grill.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, it's a cool place to watch fireworks from, but that's about all it's got going for it at Walt Disney World. All right, ride for ride. Star Tours, again, essentially the exact same thing. Totally different placement. One's at Hollywood Studios on the East Coast. You're over in Tomorrowland on the West Coast. It's an awful, awful choke point on the West Coast. I will say that. That's probably the worst place to walk. It's kind of like the choke point we have in Fantasyland in Walt Disney World between Star Tours and Buzz is like the ultimate choke point in Disneyland. So you just kind of put your head down and charge past it as fast as you can.
Well, I hate that ride. I have not ridden it in Disneyland because I have sworn off of it in Disney World. It is probably the ride that makes me the most motion sick of any ride at Disney World.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me, but I could pass this one by every single trip and never worry about it. All right, this one tends to invoke some strong feelings in people. Space Mountain. The same ride, but vastly different at the same time.
So I prefer the queue for Space Mountain at Disney World. I prefer the ride at Disneyland. The
I can see
ride
that.
the queue at Disneyland is like kind of weird because you go outside for a little while and it kind of feels like you're stepping off, like out of the theming for a little bit. But I just found the ride at Disneyland to feel smoother and more enjoyable. It just felt more fun. I feel like Disney World, it's a little bit like the Matterhorn of Walt Disney World, where I feel like I'm being jerked around and I'm like, am I having fun or am I being tortured?
Yeah, and I will also say that goes for the exit queue as well. If you think the exit queue at Walt Disney World is bad, you've never done the exit queue at Disneyland because it's every bit as terrible. I personally have found, and this is just kind of my opinion, I think that Walt Disney World has more short drops, and I feel like Disneyland has more turns, is kind of the feeling I got from it. You've also got the in-car audio at Disneyland, which is way cooler, and the ride vehicles are completely different. So, yeah, I've got to give the nod ride alone to Disneyland, but I totally understand your feelings on the Disneyland queue. It's weird.
Yeah.
All right, Autopia, the bane of our existence at Walt Disney World, yet somehow quaint, cute, and fun at Disneyland.
I mean, if the Tomorrowland Speedway went away for all time, I would not shed a tear.
Can we please just discuss the fact that we gave up 20,000 leagues, but somehow managed to keep the Tomorrowland Speedway for an extra 30 years? I cannot understand the reasoning of that. And we gave up the Rivers of America, but still have these two-stroke engines polluting the environment, polluting our ears, making a lot of
Yeah.
noise. Like, how did we reach that decision?
I have no idea. Somebody somewhere has, I don't know, because you're right. It is so loud. They're not fun. They go slow. I mean, I have no idea how, and it's like a large piece of real estate there.
It's
I have
enormous.
no idea how that ride has survived.
You could have, I'm going to have to look. I'll bet you could come close to fitting Tron into where the Speedway is. Like, it is that enormous. It's huge. All right.
I
I'll
mean,
get
I
off that
will
little
say
soapbox.
that it is one of the only rides in Disney World that has a holiday overlay.
All right. Well, I suppose we'll give it points for the Christmas lights they put up. Aside from that, it can just go away.
Yeah.
No complaints. Especially like when you're on the teacups and all you can hear are those stupid rat-a-tat-tat of the engines in the background.
Terrible.
All right. Another one that prior to right now, I would have easily given the nod to Disneyland, but we will know in just a few weeks. Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters. We've got a big refurb coming that looks like it's going to match, if not surpass, Disneyland.
I hope so, because Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin was so outdated. I mean, once they added Toy Story Mania to Hollywood Studio, like Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin just became like seriously just a thing to do to pass the time while you're waiting for something else, because you don't even know what you're shooting at. You can't see like where the lasers are pointing. It's just the quality of the game being a game is not good. So I
We
really
thought Delta
hope.
Dream Flight was bad, and we'll happily take it back for Buzz Lightyear.
So yeah, I hope that the Disney World version really sees a vast improvement, because it definitely did not hold a candle to the Disneyland one.
All right. Galaxy's Edge, land for land, pretty much the exact same thing. Do you have any feelings? I mean, placement, entries, exits. What do you think?
So something that I really enjoy about the Disneyland Galaxy's Edge is that depending on where you're standing, like there's the tunnel that like is leading out. You can stand there and you can watch fireworks from there, which I think is maybe gives it a little bit of an edge. I think that I think that in both parks, it's kind of just, you can see like their weird add-ons, like they were not part of the organic development of this, of these theme parks when they were first being built. But there does seem to be something kind of where like you go from Frontierland where you have all of the rock structures to then going to Galaxy's Edge where you have all of the spires and all of those rock structures, which is kind of
Versus
cool.
going Hollywood Studios, walking down the streets of New York, and suddenly you're completely in another universe.
Yeah, I mean, they have the Goofy and Power and the Goofy and Max character meet and greet queue, like literally right at the entrance before you walk under that tunnel. You're like, what? I'm walking past this like faux New York City building. There's Goofy and Max, and now all of a
And you
sudden,
just passed at the time Miss Piggy with her Statue
right,
of Liberty
right,
fountain to suddenly Chewbacca's on the other side of the wall.
exactly. And if you enter from Toy Story Land, I guess you're walking through the aliens swirling saucer ride, which I guess maybe that's
Oh, you're
supposed to be
really
like,
reaching now.
yeah. I'm trying to understand, but you're
We went from a
basically
giant
going
claw
from
machine to Galaxy's Edge, but
right,
somehow it's outer space themed, so it's okay.
right, exactly. So yeah, I think yeah, once you're inside, the lands are identical. You could, if somebody blindfolded me and dropped me in one or the other, I probably it'd take me a while for me to figure out which one I was in because they are so similar. But I think I will give Disneyland the nod because of the way that they made it a little bit more of like a transition from one land to the other, and also because you can see fireworks.
Fireworks always wins it over. All right, we have to cross the Esplanade to get over to DCA. Some things are different, some things are the same. Can we just say Cars Land for the win? Like just plain and simple,
100%.
Cars Land for the win. I
It
don't care
wins
what they do with the
everything.
Rivers of
Right.
America. It's not going to be Cars Land.
Oh no, it will not. I mean, Cars Land for me, without having been to any of the overseas park in North America, Cars Land is for me like the premier land at any park. Like they
Thematically,
just
hands down.
nailed that one. Just love it. So
I don't care whatever else Kevin Rafferty did, even replacing Your Great Movie Ride. Just the fact that Cars Land is what it is and it all stemmed from his imagination and planning is just incredible. It is so difficult to express how amazing that land is unless you bring someone and just sit them there when the lights come on at night. It's just incredible.
and Radiator Springs Racers is a far superior use of that ride technology compared to Test Track.
Completely agreed. I will say that they've done better with the new Test Track version 3.0. We rode it for the first time, much better than 2.0, but Radiator Springs Racers, when it's running, that's a big caveat, when it's running is a far superior experience. All right. Over to Avengers Campus. We don't have it. We don't have, a flying Spider-Man that goes through the air. However, they do have Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout versus Tower of Terror. Same ride technology, exact same building, exact same elevators, exact same show, so to speak. But I have very strong feelings about this one. And knowing your feelings of Tower of Terror, I'm wondering if we don't disagree on this one.
Oh yeah, for me it's Tower of Terror 100% all the way. It is far superior to me. The experience is just more creative. I just love it. Also, weirdly, the Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout made me motion sick whereas Tower of Terror doesn't. And I think that it's because Tower of Terror because it opens, you have fresh air, you can see further out into the horizon whereas in Disneyland, there's a screen right in front of you, and I think that kind of messes with me. So I love Tower of Terror. So if they ever touch Tower of Terror in Hollywood Studios, that will actually be my Rivers of America. Hands off Tower of Terror.
We definitely do disagree. And I agree with you thematically in the pre-show and the lead up in the story. Tower of Terror is an amazing story. The lobby, walking through everything is incredible. The vibe, the feeling, the ambiance. I think Mission Breakout is more fun than Tower of Terror is just because of the storyline. And strangely enough, I do not like doing Tower of Terror because I will occasionally get motion sick. That does not happen to me on Mission Breakout. It's the exact opposite of you. So that's really interesting.
That's so weird. And you don't get motion sick on Star Tours.
Not one bit. I can do it all day long.
It's the screens for me, I think, because the screen in Star Tours and the screen in Mission Breakout. I think that's what does it for me. So
I also think that for me, every time I've ever been on Tower of Terror, it's been 196 degrees and 114% humidity. So I think that might play into the issues that I have on that ride. I've never done it when it's been cool or refreshing outside.
you've never done it when you haven't been suffering from dehydration.
Exactly. Like I already feel miserable and then you throw me on that washing machine. But yeah, Mission Breakout has not made me motion sick where it has happened on occasion on Tower of Terror. All right. Across the bridge to Pixar Pier, Toy Story, Midway Mania, same exact ride, different placement, but same ride.
Yep.
Goofy Sky School, we used to kind of sort of have the equivalent to this in Dinoland USA. I will say that if you enjoy Goofy Sky School, then I don't know what to say to you. That is the most bone-jarring. It makes Matterhorn and Space Mountain feel gentle by comparison. I mean, you want to talk about being inside a washing machine. Goofy Sky School is awful. Plus, it was right below our room at California Adventure. So if I had to hear that one more time, it was going to get ugly.
I have not ridden it. I think in that land in Disneyland, I've only ridden Toy Story Mania and the Incredicoaster.
It's pretty awful. All right, Little Mermaid, Ariel's Undersea Adventure, exact same ride. I'll just say it right off the bat. The ride queue, the line going into Ariel's Undersea Adventure in Walt Disney World with the crabs and the rock work and the Nautilus submarine mention, 1,000 times better, but it's the same clamshells, same ride.
Yeah, but it's it feels like it's a random weird building in Disneyland.
Because it's a random weird building in Disneyland.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it is. All right, Grizzly River Run in Grizzly Peak versus Kali River Rapids, because let's be honest, it's the same ride, really.
Okay, so this one is like a little bit tough. I think that I don't love that Grizzly River Run spins as much as it does. It's a smaller ride vehicle and it spins a lot. So I prefer the larger like raft that you're on that kind of bounces from side to side versus constantly being spinning. And also I mean you can get completely drenched on Kali River Rapids, but it depends on your seat. Grizzly River Run, I think you are not escaping that ride without needing to go back to your room. It's why it's great to stay at Grand Californian, because you ride that and then you go right back to your room and get changed, because every single person on our boat was just drenched. And it's kind of okay to get drenched like that in Orlando in the summer, but I don't know. I don't need to get that wet when I'm at Disneyland, especially because the times that I've gone, it's been like very pleasant. It's never really been hot. So to be that wet and then you just instantly feel cold and you instantly have to go get changed.
I think there's nothing in the world worse than having wet socks and shoes. So I have been equally drenched on both rides. I mean, equally drenched being the capitalized word in that sentence. I've got to give the nod to Disneyland, because if you're staying somewhere in or around Disneyland, very easy to go back and get a change of socks and shoes, especially at Grand Californian. If you're at Animal Kingdom and you have wet socks and shoes and it's 115% humidity that day, you are a long walk, a long wait, and a long bus ride away from finding new socks and shoes.
Well, Allie bought the ugliest sweatsuit at Animal Kingdom because she refused to stay wet, because it was a day that it was not so hot. So yeah, so she was like, I don't care, I'm buying this thing because I'm freezing. I will say that I think both rides are extremely well themed in extremely well themed lands. So I give them both. Like, I think that they are both great in terms of just what they are, what the concept is. I think that Kali River Rapids is too short. I would enjoy that ride being a little bit longer than it is. But overall, I mean, the queue for Kali River Rapids is amazing. It's one of my favorite queues. But Grizzly River Run, that whole land, like I just love that whole land. I love that it's thematically in flow with the resort right there. So I mean, I think they're both great, except for the fact that you get drenched, which is annoying.
Right. The water ride is great except for the water. Perfect.
Right, exactly.
All right. Moving through Grizzly Peak, Soarin', exact same ride mechanism. And unless they're playing Soarin' over California versus Soarin' around the world, most times are playing similar shows. They're both going to get a new one this summer. But the buildings and the entrances and the queues are completely different between the two. I've got to give my nod to Disneyland, because we all know how much I despise having to throw elbows in that line queue going into Soarin' at Epcot.
Well, it also doesn't make sense in terms of what the ride is. Like Disneyland, it makes
Soaring
sense.
through the air doesn't make sense at the land.
Right. And they're trying to make it feel like this like concourse, but it doesn't even feel like that. You just feel like you're walking in long hallways surrounded by walls. And it's in a really cute building that's thematically on point at Disneyland. So definitely Disneyland.
Yep, I'm with you there. All right, I think we've exhausted the rides. Can you think of any others? I think that's the ones that at least have somewhat in common.
I can't think of any others right now.
Oh, trust me, someone will come up on the page when I post this episode to tell me we missed something.
I'm sure.
Probably going
I
to
mean,
be Greg.
we haven't talked about any of the shows or anything, but
Well, that's what I was going to get to right now. So
Yeah.
we've covered the rides. Do you want to hit the shows real quick? Because I don't think we can do a whole episode on the shows, but I think we can cover it in the next 10 minutes or so.
all right, so let's do it. Let's talk about the shows.
Okay, so they both got Turtle Talk with Crush. No big deal. They both have Mickey's PhilharMagic. They're both kind of afterthoughts in both parks. The placement's a little different. The big difference, I mean, we both have Enchanted Tiki Room, but we have Hall of Presidents, and they have Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln and Walt. Very different shows using similar technology with kind of the same feel. I'm going to be honest. I love both of them. I don't know that I could choose between the two because they're both just so iconic and I think particularly moving.
Yeah, I think what's nice in Disneyland is that it feels again like there's like this history and nostalgia to it, um, rooted in history, whereas like Hall of Presidents is like it changes, which is fine. But I don't know. I do love, and I love Hall of Presidents because I do find them both moving, and I find them both to be um, also just that great midday like sit down kind of attraction. So yeah, I don't really feel strongly in either direction.
I feel thematically like Hall of Presidents belongs more in Liberty Square. Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. I understand why it's where it is. I think Walt thematically fits better where it is at Disneyland, but I think thematically the Hall of Presidents just fits so well in the whole Liberty Square motif that they've got going on there.
Yeah, and it feels like kind of grand. Like there's something grand about that. It's like you're stepping out of just, this theme park into this experience that feels kind of like larger than life a little bit, even though it's like animatronics that were made a long time
It is,
ago.
but I
Do you know
swear
what I
every
mean?
time I walk in there, like just all the things they've got in the lobby, Obama's basketball and George Washington's shoe buckles. I mean, there's just some cool stuff there. I am never not surprised by how big that stage is. Like, I swear, every
I
time I
know.
go in there, it opens up and I'm like, wow, I forgot exactly how big this stage is to fit all the presidents. It's enormous. And you look at that little tiny building front and you're like, oh, it's going to be a little show. And you walk in and it opens up to a 190-degree panorama.
Yeah, it's like the American history version of the Stormtroopers in Rise of Resistance, where every time you step into that room, you see all the Stormtroopers. Like every time it feels like impressive.
Okay, parades. They've got Paint the Night and Magic Happens. They've also got Main Street Electrical Parade that they take out on occasion, which I'm still a little salty about. We do have the new, is it Starlight? I believe I just saw it on the last trip. It was quite nice, but I don't know. Where do you fall on this one?
Paint the Night 100%. I mean, it is so much better to me. I think that Starlight is pretty, but it's not one like Paint the Night is like what you expect Disney parades to be, where you walk away and you're like singing the song and you feel hyped up. I kind of feel like Starlight is like you're just like looking at the floats going by and then they're gone and then you don't have a lasting impression of it once the show is over. Whereas, like I said, Paint the Night just feels like it's very engaging, and then even after it leaves, you're like walking through the park humming that song in your head. It's just I prefer that one a lot. I think that's a great nighttime parade.
I don't disagree. And I think Magic Happens is cute. I think I probably like Festival of Fantasy over Magic Happens. I just love the Festival of Fantasy parade. I think it's pretty awesome. But here's another one that will get some strong feelings. Phantasmic versus Phantasmic. Very, very different experiences.
So I have there's a couple of things. I love that it's right there in Rivers of America and Disneyland, and I also hate that it's right there because there's no good place like unless you do one of these dining packages, like it's really difficult to just find a place to go and watch it. So it can get very crowded, but it being right there, and the first time I saw Phantasmic and the pirate ship came, I was just wowed. But overall, as an experience, I just love Phantasmic at Walt Disney World so much. I love going into that amphitheater, sitting down, being able to, sit down and watch the show and really take it in and not feel like I'm like packed into like these narrow walkways. So, and I know, Cindy from our Facebook group feels like Phantasmic at Disneyland used to be just so much
Right before
better.
Murphy burned down, a week before my last visit, Murphy burned down. The fire inspectors were still on Tom Sawyer Island the last time we were there.
Yeah. So there was that. And uh so yeah, so I mean from what I hear, it used to be far better. Even before I saw it, I don't know what the real changes were, but I think that they're both great. I just feel like the viewing experience in Disney World is a more enjoyable one because it has its own place.
I like that it has the amphitheater. I like that they can make it more of a spectacle. I don't like lining up to go in. I don't like the crush of people coming out. I also like that you do have a little bit of space. You're on the bleachers and you do feel crushed down at Disneyland, but there is kind of a cool sense of place there where it's not a made up theater, like they're using the actual Rivers of America. And the way they use the Columbia in that show, with especially with Peter Pan and Captain Hook, is just so cool compared to what we have, that I can really make the argument for both depending on what factors we're using.
Yeah. I mean, I will say that after when I saw Phantasmic at Disneyland for the first time, my knee jerk reaction was, "Oh my gosh, this is so much better." But as I've gone back and like the wow factor has kind of worn off a little bit, the seating situation is something that is like cumbersome for me. So I really appreciate the amphitheater in Disney World.
Okay, last one. And this one, this is truly one of those where I say, well, it just really depends on the last park I visited. Nighttime fireworks shows. You've got Happily Ever After versus Wondrous Journeys, and go.
So I'm going to go with Wondrous Journeys. And I think that that's because as much as I really like Happily Ever After, I'm a Wishes person. Like Wishes is like my favorite fireworks show, and there's something about Wondrous Journeys that like feels a little bit more similar to Wishes than Happily Ever After, and I think that's what it does for me. I also love in Disneyland all of the different vantage points where you can watch the fireworks from, whether even if you're outside of the park in between the two entranceways. Like that's I thought was so cool was that like people were like coming out of the hotels and just everyone was like congregating in that area in between the Disneyland entrance and the DCA entrance to like sit and watch the fireworks. And it just feels like kind of, we always talk about how like Disneyland just feels like it's quaint and it's like really like a neighborhood. Watching the fireworks there kind of like feels like that too. Like everyone is like coming out to watch the fireworks no matter where they are in the park or outside of the park. Um, and just overall like the soundtrack is just really like is great. So I think I'm going with Wondrous Journeys.
It is such a toss up for me. And I will admit that it's possible that Happily Ever After, there might be some nostalgia mixing in there for me. I'm not really sure one way or the other. I wanted to hate Happily Ever After. I was not a fan, was not looking forward to it. I would talk smack about what they were replacing. And I have simply fallen in love with Happily Ever After. I love the messaging. I love the music. I love the projections on the castle. I love Tink flying by. I just think it's absolutely incredible. We have memories of it from on Main Street. We have memories of it from the train station. We have memories of it from the Tomorrowland Terrace with a dessert party. I have memories of it from a balcony on Grand Floridian and from the pool in Poly. There's something about Happily Ever After that's amazing. And it's not getting shuffled to the back past the garbage on the way out when you're just exiting with the masses. With that said, you really have one amazing vantage point for it. If you want to see the projections and you want to see the fireworks the way they're meant to be presented, you need to be somewhere on that Main Street thoroughfare. You can still see it from the back, and there's some other cool ways to do it, whether it be Big Thunder or Astro Orbiter. But if you're not directly in line the way it's set up, it's not the same show. Disneyland, in addition to being viewable from a bunch of different directions because the fireworks are being launched closer, you've also got it being played back on Small World, which is a completely different and equally amazing experience. You've still got projections, you've still got fireworks overhead. The soundtracks are neck and neck for me. I love them both. And I would really have a difficult time choosing one or the other because they're just both so amazing in their own way.
I've recently started to appreciate Happily Ever After a little bit more because I was, when Happily Ever After took over for Wishes, there was something about it that felt like I felt a little bit disappointed in it because I felt Wishes just like with the kids' voices singing and Jiminy Cricket as the narrator, like it just felt like so heartwarming. And Happily Ever After just felt like a pop song to me. But it has grown on me because of Jordan Fisher and seeing how important and how much he loves.
He still just shows up next to the pianist outside of Casey's and sings along on occasion because he loves it so much.
Yeah, and seeing that clip of him singing the song with the Disney World cast members, I just feel like watching the joy that he has being a part of that has like actually made me feel more emotionally connected to Happily Ever After than I ever have. And this is how long after it started, how it started running. And I really like, I have to give him a lot of credit because like, I think he has done a really good job of being an ambassador to, to of Disney World to like the world with that song and it has sold me and he has actually really changed my point of view. And not that I ever didn't like them. I just didn't feel it the way that I felt Wishes. Like I felt it every time, like tears in my eyes every time. That has actually started happening to me. And I mean, and also maybe it's just like my life phase, you know what I mean? Like I'm going through a transition period in my life. And so listening to that song like kind of speaks to me now. So I do have to say, like, as while I am saying Wondrous Journeys, Happily Ever After is starting to like earn its place in the like emotional attachment category for me at Disney.
Wondrous Journeys is the only one where I have accused somebody of cutting onions nearby. Happily Ever After has not as yet done that to me. But I will say that there has to be something about Happily Ever After because, number one, they tried to briefly take it away and there was an uprising. They had to bring it back. And you will never convince me that they were just going to temporarily change the fireworks show. They tried and it just failed spectacularly. And we know how I feel about changing things. So for me to not just accept that change in a Happily Ever After, but embrace it and say that I love it, especially considering how I feel about all the various failures they've had at Epcot after Illuminations, tells you that there's got to be something to that show for people that were so adamantly against it to be so wholeheartedly supportive and connected to it now.
Don't you just wish that like one day they would just do like a little run of Wishes? Like I yearn to see Wishes again.
I would love one day of Wishes. I would love 365 days a year, every year of Illuminations.
Illuminations. Yeah. Yeah, I feel that.
All right, we did it. We went 50 minutes. It's a little longer than our episodes we've been trying to keep short, but we got through the end of the Disney World Disneyland comparison. And I have my fingers, eyes, legs, toes crossed that we will get Kathleen back next week because, oh gosh, I miss her. If you're listening to this, Kathleen, we miss you.
I hope so. I hope we can get all four of us on and we can talk
Scott's
about people's
okay, I guess.
we can talk about people's unpopular opinions.
Which turned out to be very popular depending on what side you were on.
I know. Well, there were some people's posts, and I was like, "Wait, that's unpopular."
Right. I actually think I actually commented on one of them. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure that's the popular opinion. All right, everyone. Well, thank you as always for listening along. If you could head to Apple Podcasts, give us a like, a 5-star review, we would appreciate it. Amy?
And if you'd like to share your unpopular opinion and perhaps be referenced in an upcoming episode, join us on our Facebook group, DVC Clubhouse. You can also find us at Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And until next time, we'll DVC you real soon.
See you guys.
And so our journey comes to an end.
Oh, no, please, can't we go back to page 1 and do it all over again?
We started this thing together, and that's how we'll finish it.
Because that, my friends, is where the magic lives.